There we go, we went to the Suez. Let's open the market. We got a bolt of silk. We should hold on to it for Chittagong. Yeah, Chittagong's pretty big. I think we'll go to Hong Kong. We want the South Hemisphere's we want these. Alright. We can lose that. Try to reduce our luggage in case we have to get rid of anything. And then we should plan to get to Calcutta. We need to get to Chittagong. So we do need to get to Calcutta tomorrow at noon. Okay, so we can spend the day in Bombay. Cared not a straw for the wonders of Bombay, but he gave me a few hours' leisure as he settled to his evening paper. I ended up wheezing and puffing my way up Malabar Hill, the highest point in South Bombay. I paused at the top and looked out at the bay. British airships dominated the skyline, tethered loosely to the gunboats that patrolled the docks. Brightly painted merchant ships darted into the harbor, eager to unload their cargo before the light faded. Catching my breath, I found my steps irresistibly drawn towards the Banganga Temple. The temple tower was reflected serenely in the water of the reservoir, fed by an underground spring said to come from the Ganges. I entered the temple, fascinated by the relief carvings of gods and goddesses which covered the entire Gopuram. One of the priests spotted me and issued a great, pained cry of alarm. I let loose my own shout in response, an entirely instinctual reaction which seemed to baffle him somewhat. Alas, the priest's cry drew the attention of his followers and other temple-goers, all of whom descended upon me in a hack. They took my shoes and hat and ejected me from the temple complex with rather zealous roughness. "But my shoes, my hat," I remonstrated to the priest's angry backs. A woman in a deep umber sari offered me a pristine white handkerchief. "Non-Hindus are not allowed in the temple," she declared, "especially with their shoes on." "I did not realize," I explained, and she sniffed. "Where do you think you are, Gora?" She demanded, her hand on her hips. "This is not Paris, this is Bombay. Bother yourself to learn the difference." I handed her a handkerchief with thanks, duly chastened. I resolved to be more mindful to local customs, for I chanced losing more than my shoes with my ignorance. I returned to my master barefoot and rather shamefaced. "I hope this will not happen again," said my master coldly. That was to be the last word on Bombay, gateway to the jewel in the crown to the British Empire, except for, "And what, pray, has happened to your shoes?" We make for Calcutta, which will take almost all of our money. But we'll sell a whole bunch of things in Chittagong. We went with Sir Francis to Bombay Station to buy our tickets through to Calcutta. The clerk who took our money counted it out fastidiously and then recounted it before issuing us a ticket. "A ticket to Calcutta, Sahib. 4 days, no faster way in the world." I nodded and thanked her, too exhausted already to listen to sales talk after a sale had been made. She gave me an edged smile. I should have known she was lying, but we boarded the train in blissful ignorance of our fate. "Greetings, Monsieur Rajes." "That is correct. I wish to check your ticket again, Passepartout." "Tell me more about Hong Kong. And then how do I get to Canton?" It sounds unlikely. What about this one? English poetry. Tell me about Hong Kong. To Honolulu. Sounds unlikely. But train started with a sharp screech, but entirely punctually. We shared our compartment with Sir Francis. My master made no secret of the circumstances of his journey, and our new friend clearly thought him entirely devoid of common sense. An uncharitable view, which did not endear me to him. Our wager was now in full swing. I was weary of our pace, and felt a fleeting wish for some fatal delay to put my master's chances of winning the wager altogether. I could not help but admire my master's calmness. Even in the face of all we had experienced and overcome, truly this was folly, but folly on a scale which was almost admirable. I slept fitfully, though the berths were comfortable enough. I had an uneasy feeling about our journey across India. I hope I didn't use the... I did. Today, Sir Francis told me of the regions we were passing through. Monsieur Fogg, who was not traveling but merely describing a circumference, preferred to reread his edition of the Morning Post. I was more interested in acquiring new shoes. My chance came at the next stop, where I managed to lay my hands on a pair of... let's see... second-hand Japals, which a fellow fairly pressed into my hands when I expressed a vague interest in their acquisition. Mr. Fogg gave my feet a glance of the sheerest horror expressed through a single dark twitch of his left eyebrow. Oh, I can sell my shoes. The train conductor woke us up as he passed along the carriages, shouting, "Passengers will get out here." Monsieur Fogg gave me a look, and so I determined to find a way to make our journey continue, though my hopes on that were quickly dashed when I discovered there was no more track. Apparently, the papers had been somewhat overzealous in reporting the railway's completion. The track was altogether missing between Allahabad and Calcutta. Sir Francis looked quite ready to knock the conductor flat on his back, though my master betrayed not even the slightest hint of dismay. I asked a fellow passenger, a Portuguese opium merchant who laughed at my predicament before racing off in her steam carriage. A boy not long out of short trousers seemed to take pity on us, or at least had a wish to practice his English, and directed us toward a local merchant who had recently purchased a large mechanical elephant from Bombay. Ew. Oh my god. Is that... We've been fucked. Wait, what about this steam? We're gonna have to explore. We can't beg for 2,000 pounds in India. There we go. No, we can't sell stuff. There wasn't the option to. There's no market, apparently. Allahabad was a charming enough town, though not, it must be said, a desired destination of ours. Beyond the city limits, and between us and our goal, lay the forest of Jharkhand, populated by tigers, pythons, elephants, and apparently bandits. Mr. Fogg was his usual phlegmatic self, but I could not share his calm. I'm a man of cities, not jungle. I'm zestful again. That's okay. Tomorrow at noon. We'll stay at the hotel then. We took a room and settled in, and polished shoes. We gotta get fucking money. Great. Taking a cart through dense jungles was fairly clear, I think, yet another error that we did for the sake of a few thousand pounds. filled me with shame. But of course there are no banks in the jungle, and you cannot spend goodwill. Ugh. The wheels of the cart came off. Fixing them took an hour or so, and every man of us was forced to join the work, Mr. Fogg included, rolling up his sleeves and raising his eyebrows with disdain. The work was muddy and hard and almost impossible in Jabals, and once done, the cart ran no smoother than before. Just plummet. Today we stopped in a small village of busy locals. I paid them no heed, nor they us. They have no doubt seen sunburnt Europeans often enough before. The road is so bumpy and potholed I can barely write. Briefly we passed some kind of festival in the distance. Through the trees we made out dancing figures and smoke and fire. It seemed most intriguing, but before we could see exactly what it might be, it was lost between the trunks once more. Thankfully the journey was almost over. Our driver had begun to smile with his one tooth, hoping, I think, for some kind of bribe for his great service for us. I cannot think why we should pay such a thing, and sure enough, when we arrived, we did not. We'll want to explore. And now we have the route to Calcutta. The Hindus believe that to die in the sacred city of Benares is to achieve salvation. I am not, Mr. Fogg observed, at all certain that holds true for non-Hindus, so I do not recommend testing the hypothesis, Passepartout. He gave me a pointed look, and I nodded in fervent agreement. I'm utterly cured of any need for adventure, I assured him. From now I shall be on the most level-headed, the most sensible, indeed the most boring gentleman a gentleman could ever wish to have. If adventure so much as glances in my direction, I shall give it the cut direct, and no mistake. Mr. Fogg looked for a moment as though some kind of spasm had come upon him. Do you need a handkerchief? I asked, offering him one solicitously. He took it from my grip and pressed it into his face, though he did not sneeze. After a moment, he straightened up, his cool mouth once more firmly placed. Passepartout, he said calmly, you are the most singular valet I have ever encountered. Now do fetch me a cup of tea. I often wonder about that moment in Benares. Are all English gentlemen so inscrutable, or have I chosen a particularly strange example of the breed? How much to get us to... Oh no, we can't go to Calcutta! I need to sell our shit, or... We don't need to go to Calcutta, we need to go to Chittagong. In 2 days. Let's check the market. Do I have anything good? Invasion. Gloves. And a shaving kit. So no, we'll have to wait 2 days. Unless we want to go to the bank. We'll take the we're gonna rest. We're gonna recover. We'll attend to Mr. Fogg. Tomorrow at 11. So we'll stay here for a little bit. As night fell, I afforded my master every service, ensuring he had a fresh tea. We'll head to Waltaire. Oh no! We'll need extra space. We gotta get to Chittagong. We approached the station with some pleasure. The sight of a well-fitted out train carriage soothes the soul. As I loaded myself, Mr. Fogg, and our 3 cases aboard, I said as much to him. He looked indifferent. It is the speed that counts, and not the furniture. Still, once sitting in, he seemed more relieved. Ah, this would be a chance to relax. So we'll keep him nice and healthy. I should have conversated, see if there was anything in Waltair to Chittagong. We traveled in a compartment with 2 Kashmiri women holding babies and quite clearly discussing my master and me in their native tongue. What takes you to Waltair, ladies? We're going to be wet nurses to one of the ladies at the British residency, said the younger girl with a smile. I hope she is kind. Are there no wet nurses in Waltair? Her eyes widened. Oh, Sahib, you see, the British ladies prefer Kashmiri wet nurses or Parsis. Why is that? Because they say we are kind and sweet-natured and gentle as a people. Her companion's face soured. It is because we are less dark than other Indians, I think, she shrugged. We were wondering, is your wife not traveling with you? I have no wife. She looked shocked. But Sahib, you are so well dressed. Who presses your clothes if not your wife? Her companion leaned in. Aren't you a little old to be a bachelor? I am a very good age, I said with a front of dignity. We passepartouts mature like fine wine, and do not curdle like old milk. But don't you wish to be married? Perhaps one day, I said evasively, wondering what it was they taught nice Kashmiri girls at school, that they were so forward. Mr. Fogg emitted a cough, which sounded suspiciously like a laugh, but neither of the 2 ladies tried to question him at all for the length of our journey to Waltair. Zut alors, life heaps indignities upon poor Passepartout. We arrived early next morning. The ladies nodded farewell and stepped from the train. Monsieur Fogg and myself somewhat stumbled. The infants had been less docile in the small hours of the night. We are going to Singapore. We need to explore Waltair and find how we get to Chittagong. Oh, we gotta get to Chittagong. Exploring the busy streets of Waltair, I found myself lost in the sight and smells of 2 cultures, the dress of England with the colors and heat of India. It was its own place, of course, not truly either. And I wondered if it was not better for... How long such a hybrid lasts? If it was not better for it. As I returned towards Mr. Fogg, I passed a large building set behind a high wall with an ironwork fence. I paused to peer through the gate and heard from inside a blood-curdling scream. I rushed forward, but of course the gate was sealed and could not enter a yard. A man was crossing the path, pushing a blanketed figure in a wheelchair. He paused to regard me coolly from behind his spectacles. What do you want? He demanded. What is this place? This is the Meadowhall Hospital for the criminally insane, he replied matter-of-factly. He would do well to move on. With that, he turned away. The figure in the chair leaned back to peer at me, and I saw she was nothing but a girl. Her eyes were wide with a plea for help, and then the chair was spun about, and she was pushed towards the forbidding building. How much to get us to Calcutta? We cannot get to Calcutta. No, 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 how do we get to Chittagong? I guess we don't. I guess we don't. Which means we have to do one thing. We have to go to the bank. We must visit the bank, Mr. Fogg declared. You have additional funds? I am a gentleman. They would extend me credit if required, you replied. But do you suppose I put my entire fortune into a carpet bag under your supervision? Of course, I regarded. The bank as we entered. It was a small affair, but efficiently looked after, and we were quickly seen to you. We'll need 700 on Monday. We'll have to communicate with London first, of course. So we have to spend 3 days here now. Behind the Mem Sahib's pinched smiles. The British residency where we dined was in utter uproar. The commissioner had been packed off back to London with such haste that a replacement had not even been chosen, much less dispatched. A family emergency, perhaps. Surely such a venerable, powerful figure would not let him have embroiled himself in something so tawdry as a scandal. Madame Lafeu, the assistant commissioner's heavily pregnant wife, dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. And to think he was a peer of the realm, she exclaimed in genteel sorrow. Still, I suppose he was Scottish. I had an excuse to escape, having little interest in gossip, and left Monsieur Fogg rather at the mercy of Madame Lafeu's complaint and gossip. Still, I cannot regret my hours of solitude and leisure in the little colonial town of Voltaire. Gotta wait 2 more days. Before going to bed, we're on a few extra services. I am the whore of Voltaire. Polishing shoes. And then we get our funds at 10 a.m. And we cannot go to Chittagong. But we can still get to Singapore. I hope. Well, if we get to New Zealand, we can get all the way over to goddamn Lima. Jesus. And from... it's probably not the best. Lima's... oh god, this is gonna... I don't think there's gonna be a route through there. That's the Amazon right there. Let's just go through the Amazon. We might have to see if we can get to Manila? No. Or we go to Hong Kong and maybe go to Japan and then Honolulu. Oh, we barely have money. To Rangoon it is. Hooray. This has gone so poorly. We boarded the rather unimaginatively named Bengal Tiger just as it was about to depart. We always leave on time, Captain Josie harumphed as the painter was dropped, and we quickly stowed our bags and ourselves into a cabin. Then we will be most happy here, I called back as we went below. Rangoon. Rangoon to Singapore. Batavia. We are out in the middle of the Bay of Bengal. Water is everywhere, water and sunshine. This could be a desert. It is so vast, so barren, so quiet. I stayed at the prow, thinking thoughts of distant shores. Once I thought I saw something on the water nearby, a massive moving shape, but when I looked closer, it was gone. I asked the captain about it later, and he said, "Many men say they see things in these waters," he replied. "And there are strange creatures on land, too." I thought him a superstitious man, as so many sailors are, and so I nodded once and returned to my most practical of masters. The sun continues to bake us in our skins. I took my mind off the heat, tending to my master's state, but I rather think he was finding my attentions tiresome. I left him to it, but found a viewpoint from which I can to enjoy the company of other passengers. As the evening came on, the crew brought out their vinas and tablas and began to play boisterous tunes. A few of the younger members of the crew began to dance, and soon there was a good-natured rivalry between the men and the women. I joined the men and attempted to mimic their quick steps about the deck with some success, and the women made mocking sounds and exhorted us to better performances. I cannot say who won the match, but my dreams were underpinned by the sound of a hand striking a tabla in a wild rhythm. This is the Ataman Sea. I was told by one of the deckhands as we rounded a point of land. Rangoon is here, is that where you're going? Only for a day or so, perhaps. That's good, the deckhand replied. Be careful, she advised. They say a monster prowls Rangoon's streets, devouring all those with evil thoughts. I shrugged. Such monsters have a little claw on a valet, especially a valet to a man as impervious as Monsieur Fogg himself. We docked a few hours later and disembarked and began to explore this strange little town. There's only one route through here. We should go to the market. Does anything I have sell for anything here? We might have to get to... We want to get to Singapore. Buddha's Tooth. We can take another bolt of silk maybe, and then explore. And we might have to get more fucking money. But if we get to Singapore... Where is this... Batavia. Oh my god. This game is actively fighting me. Rangoon still bore the marks of its capture at the hands of the British in the last Anglo-Burmese War. But in the following decade, King Pagan had transformed from a bloodthirsty tyrant to a statesman capable of recapturing Rangoon, crushing a rebellion by his British sympathizing half-brother, winning the love of his people. His army of Leogrith automatons also played a part. The Burmese chintz were made of iron and breathed fire. They also adorned every pagoda and temple in sight, engines running at low boil. I had taken a mere 2 steps from the veranda of our lodgings when an enormous shadow darkened the street. There was a grinding shriek and hot breath, and then I was seized in a great iron claw. I went limp. Was not the correct response when faced by a rampaging automaton. Or perhaps I was thinking of a bear. The ground fell away in a dizzying rush. The automaton was not flying precisely, but rather leaping with a powerful bunching of hydraulics and gears. We're getting snatched. With 3 powerful jumps, the creature scaled a nearby temple and deposited me at the very top of the pagoda. I dared a look at my captor to only find myself similarly scrutinized by a pair of jewel-faceted predator's eyes. The automaton was an enormous gilded iron lion with a heartbreakingly human porcelain face and torso. Its mane... worse still, it could speak. I am Manusiha, it said in a grating rumble, and you are in my city, Jean Passepartout. What do you want with me? I choked out. I am the protector of this city. I know the whys and hows of every creature that passes through my domain, but your purpose is a mystery. We are going around the world, I declared, but with far less than my usual gusto. Whereas, as I was of the long drop, which awaited me if I chose my words without care. The world is a dangerous place, Manusiha said, grinding its iron teeth in a horrible smile. And you Europeans only make it more so wherever you go. Do you intend to eat me? I demanded, voice shaking. You would not nourish me. I am no beast, nor am I a simple machine. Manusia took his blank human face from side to side in a clatter of rubies. I am an imperial advisor to King Pagan and no simple collection of gears and levers. I could scarcely believe Manusia's calm philosophical discourse, but I insisted, Who made you? Manusia sighed, a hot gust. I was once a royal child's toy, a man-eating lion with cushioned teeth and emerald eyes. But there was some spark in my shard which allowed me to build, to create myself. I cannibalized the other toys in the imperial nursery. I bit and soldered and scratched myself into being. You are your own creator, I breathed in horror. Wonder? I do not rightly know. I have only just begun, Manusia seemed to preen. Every inch of feral lion wrapped around a combustion engine. Enjoy my city, Jean Passepartout. But when you leave, you will go to Pangsa au Pass. But I don't want to. I need to get to Singapore. There's no route that way. There will be. It seized me in its warm paw once more and leapt to the street in one heart-stopping bound. By the time I finished shaking, Manusia was gone, his last ambiguous words echoing in my head. I wonder how much of the Kingdom of Burma's recent change of fortune could be ascribed to the protector of Rangoon. I wondered whether the people of Burma would one day declare themselves subjects of an automaton king. I wondered if he would truly be worse than a monarch of flesh and blood. I wondered many things best left unvoiced. Excuse me?